We're in Durham, North Carolina for DjangoCon 2023, and with me is the founder of Lincoln Loop and longtime sponsor of DjangoCon, Peter Baumgartner. Peter, how you doing?
Great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Peter, let's start off by figuring out how many DjangoCons does this make for you?
Oh man, I was at the first DjangoCon at Google, which was, I want to say around 2007, and I think we've been at every one since.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been a while.
that's wild. So, and you've been sponsoring every single year? Or?
We didn't sponsor that first year, but shortly after, yeah.
Okay, cool. And so what was the decision from like attendee to sponsor?
Yeah, when I was an attendee, the business hadn't quite kind of taken off yet, and still kind of working on getting there. And so once we kind of realized we had a viable business, we started sponsoring, I think pretty quickly after. I'd have to check the records, but I think we were a sponsor early on. And I mean, for us, it's like we're big on kind of sustainability and kind of how we operate as a business. And for us, the sustainability of Django is important to our business. It's our focus. So being able to give back to the community and make these, help to make these things happen financially is really important to us.
Very cool. So as a sponsor, I've just in my job, I've had to work the booth, and that's a completely different conference environment. Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about like the conversations that you're having throughout the day as a sponsor.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like it really runs the gamut. It's you've got kind of new developers coming by, just trying to learn the landscape and see like what's out there, what are people doing. Like, so, a lot of people just, hey, what do you guys do? Like, tell me about it. And,
that was me last year.
we've got a, kind of an interesting business, maybe less interesting post-COVID, but, we're all remote and have people in multiple countries and continents and all that. So, that was always like an interesting conversation starter for people. And then we get, people who are potential customers coming by who, want to learn more about our services, people who come by and, have seen blog posts that we've done or talks in the past and, want to ask further questions and all that. So yeah, it really kind of runs the gamut from, kind of new people in the community to people that are kind of shopping around for services and everything in between.
I love how you mentioned like being able to bring the team in too. Yeah. So like, especially I've worked on remote teams, most of my career, and I think I have like a 0% success rate of having everybody in the room at the same time. Yeah. It has to be like a really special moment to see those people like across from a computer screen now in real life.
For sure, yeah, it's super important to us. We before the pandemic kind of started doing retreats every year where we would get the whole team together, but those have gotten farther and farther apart with everything going on. So we have kind of these sort of regional type meetups around the conferences, and it's super important for us to see each other in person. And there's a connection that gets made there. Like I'm a huge proponent of remote work and doing it in a distributed way, but there's still a connection that you make in that kind of face-to-face that doesn't happen otherwise.
How has the sponsorship kind of grown and changed? Obviously we're in a part now where the economy is a little uncertain, but I've noticed a couple of sponsors have returned, and I see some come, some go. Like, is there like a trend that you see over the past few years?
Yeah, that's interesting. It's hard to say. It's interesting to see some of the maybe not like agencies like us, but some of the other vendors that are around and kind of keep coming back. I feel like there's sort of some more legitimacy, kind of in the sponsors that are here. Like they are really interested. I think they see the market in Django, and there's folks like Sentry that are helping people with like error reporting and things like that. And having the support of those people, I think it shows like how viable Django is as a community to them. Yeah,
I think there's that level of if you're in it, like if you're invested in the community itself, like the community sees that benefit again, like being able to see the same sponsors again and again and again, like they're the first people that come to mind when you're thinking of making those type of decisions. But definitely understanding how maybe someone who is a new sponsor, you know, I hope that the community is responsive to that and go, hey, there's a new face here. Let's talk to them.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. It's we do, like, from time to time get really, like, great leads directly at the conference, but I always look at this as more of a long game. Like you said, like, people see the same face over and over, the same, you know, brand or company or whatever, and we get a lot of people that reach out to us that say, hey, I met you 3 years ago, and, you know, wherever the conference was, and, you know, I wasn't in a place then where, you know, we needed your services, but we need them now. And I remember a conversation we had. Sometimes hard to measure, like, the ROI, like, right on the spot of, like, you know, how many leads did we get at the conference or whatever, but it definitely pays off in the long term.
That's awesome. So, I mean, you're a shop that's full of Django developers, or Djangonauts, as we humbly call them. We're at a conference. There's a lot of learning happening. Are you able to give your team time to check in on the talks, or have you checked in on any of the talks?
Yeah. We don't, you know, we're kind of loosey-goosey with how our booth works. There's no, like, you have to be there at this time. And we always, you know, generally have somebody hanging out there, but people go see the talks, and I think it's been great. I think there was kind of a focus early on that it was, you know, these kind of core Django sort of developers that were giving most of the talks, and they were really deep and technical. And I think there was a real conscious decision to make open that up to a bigger pool and hear more diverse voices. And for a few years, maybe some of the talks were less technical because we were hearing more about people who were just starting with the framework and what their experience was with that. And I think over the last couple of years, there's really been an effort to have that kind of deep technical talk in addition to the kind of, you know, community and new to the space type talks. Which has been awesome for our team, because they can come and they can still get a lot out of it, even though they've been working with Django for like 10 years. Yeah,
and I mean, Django evolves every single year with the update, with the release cycle, and with all the changes, and even some of the organizational side of it. I heard from our previous guests that you were also involved behind the scenes with some of the DSF work.
Yeah. So I'm the treasurer of the DSF. I've been doing that for about a year now, and that's been an interesting experience. I've kind of never been a part of that side of it. So the DSF is in charge of essentially, at the end of the day, kind of taking in funds and distributing them for kind of the good of Django. So it pays for the fellowship program. It gives grants to Django girls and Django conferences.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you came for the code, and then you decided to support the code a little bit more, and with sponsorship. And then when the call to get more involved came in, like you stepped up again and came in. Do you see that as a pattern for maybe other potential sponsors or even attendees?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's one of those things, like, it kind of takes a village, and it only works if people are contributing. There's no big corporate company behind this that's making it all happen, and it costs money to put on the events, and the events get more people involved. And I think maybe some companies might not make that connection, but, like, if you have sort of bet your business on Django, and that's how you make your money on a Django project, it's really important for you that there's new developers coming through all the time. And when your developers leave the company or whatever, there's new folks coming in. So I see this conference being a big part of that. And it's really awesome how much the organizers have sort of fostered a culture where new people are really welcome, and it doesn't matter what your skill set is. Like, you'll be able to get something out of the conference. And seeing the number of badges I see with a first time at DjangoCon is pretty cool after this many years, that people are still just getting into it.
That's super cool. It becomes the client pool, also the talent pool, also the community, just outreach and aspect of it. That's great.
Yeah.
One last question. So we're in Durham for the first year, for this first year. And how's Durham treated you?
Durham's really cool. Like, I spend a lot of time in the conference hall. I haven't really had a chance to fully explore the city yet, but I really like it. Like it's got a really cool vibe. There's, you know, it's kind of got that like a little bit of the, you can see there's like development and new things happening, but it still has kind of the old stuff that you can tell has been there for, you know, a bunch of years. And yeah, we've been to some great restaurants, a couple cool bars, and I really like it. It's easy to walk around, and yeah, cool place.
Very cool. Well, I always ask this question at the end of these conference interviews. I kind of feel like I know the answer. We don't know if DjangoCon will be back in Durham next year, but wherever it is, I'm sure we'll probably see you there, right?
I will be there. Yeah. 100%.
Awesome. That's a strong commitment. I like that. Well, thank you so much, Peter, for hanging out with me and having a chat about, you know, just what it's like to be on the sponsorship side of these events. Not a lot of people get insight on that.
Yeah. Happy to.
Awesome. Well, like Peter said, if for some reason you have staked your entire business on Django, which is a great choice, then maybe you should consider becoming a sponsor or sending a couple of your people to DjangoCon 2024. I'll be there. Peter said he's going to be there. So we hope to see you there as well. Until next time, take care.